Welcome, everybody. Is everybody having a good time? Oh, yeah. I pulled the plug on the music because we're going to talk a little bit about our host here today, Chris. My name is Doug, and I am an alcoholic. And the way I just got a response, I would think maybe you are too.
Hi, Doug.
I'd like to just have a moment of silence if we could, just to bring us in the moment. You know, most of the people in the room I don't know, actually, but I do know a few, and I'm up from Florida to celebrate Chris's 20th year. Being a mathematician, I did the math on that. And it's less than 1% of 1% make it past the 15-year. They didn't have numbers for 20. I did it by taking Houston, Texas, takes their chip system, and they kind of publish it every year on how many people are picking up, 1-year chips, 15-year chips, 20-year chips. And so I kind of just did the math myself, and it's less than 1% of 1% making more than 20 years. So, Chris, you're truly a miracle, and everybody in here is also a miracle, including that person trying to get in here.
Yeah, it's Click.
It's your
Click.
Click. How are you?
Hello, everybody.
Are we early or are you late?
Early, always early.
You're always early. It's great to see you again. I met Ron and Chris in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2001. We got a dispute going on here. Who's going to win? So it was 2001, 2002, and I heard this guy Chris was coming down from New Jersey. Now, what happened was with me, I think I had about 6 years sobriety at that point in time, and I had arrived thing. And so I stopped going to meetings, I stopped sponsoring people, and I went to a quick dive, really bad, really. And so this girl that knows the big book very well helped me back through the steps, and she gave me a tape. And I'm driving, and I'm listening to this tape, and I'm listening to these two guys, Dave F., you may know him, and Chris S. And I hear this guy, Chris S., screaming, and he's talking about this Uncle Fred and Aunt Finn, and he's screaming, he's talking like this, can you believe it? It's just, I'm roaring listening to this guy. And then I hear this other guy, Dave F., get up, and he's like, and he just starts speaking very, professionally, and unlike Chris. So Chris is going off the deep end, and this guy, Dave F. So I hear this guy, Dave F., mention something about birds of a feather, and it's something that has to just do with airline pilots. And me being a retired airline pilot, I thought to myself, I want to talk to this guy. So I got in touch with Dave F. I flew up to New Jersey, up here, and he brought me through the rest of the steps. And I've not wavered from AA since. My life it's almost 15 years now, almost 8 years later, and I got an unbelievable, fantastic life. I really do. Then I heard about this guy, Chris, coming down and doing what were we doing, Chris? We were doing a workshop in Charlottesville, Virginia. Well, I always thought AA should be just rigid and uptight. And when I got my spiritual awakening through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, I would run up to you and be like, I know why you failed, loser, you know what I mean? And I wondered why no one wanted me to sponsor them. And my sponsor said, because you're an asshole. But that's the way I thought that everybody should act. And it was wrong. It's totally wrong. There's a lot of humor in Alcoholics Anonymous. So I heard about Chris coming down, and I was like, yeah, well, he's that guy. It's like Chris Light, really. No offense to you. I was just telling Ron how I was thinking about him speaking. He only had 3 years. I'm like, what's he going to teach me? So anyway, I'm still a little sick, right? 7 years later, I destroyed these. I'm 7 years sober. I destroyed these two guys in Charlottesville, Virginia. And we went to this unbelievable place, right, Ron? It was just gorgeous. And everybody was there. All my close friends were there. And they put on a show that was humorous, that was loving, that was down to earth, and it was all about the original core of AA. It's the first time I've ever experienced that. I took that and I ran with it. And I ran with the humor in AA, and I ran with the love in AA, and I got out of everybody's face, and I think Charlottesville wanted to give him a trophy for calming me down, for being an asshole. And really from that point forward, when Ron and Chris went to Charlottesville, Virginia, my life changed. All for the better. More relaxing, more loving, more caring, more understanding. And when Chris came down, he was just like the tapes. He was talking about this Uncle Fred and Aunt Fanny. And I think I even asked you one time who they were. I didn't know that they were these fake people that he talks about all the time. So I'm like, who's this Uncle Fred and Aunt Fanny? He's looking at me like, you're really an idiot, or are you pretending to be one? And so I hear his stories today. We've had the pleasure of traveling the world together, speaking at AA conferences, and just having a blast. The hundreds of thousands of people that he has touched in his 20 years, if you just think about that, is truly amazing. His close friends that are right here, right now, whether you are in recovery or not, know that Chris is a very giving person. He's on a quest now of building something that's very huge, and I have the honor of being a very small part of that, to help them organize through this big thing that he's doing now, which will help the masses all over the world. I have since removed myself from the speaking circuit, except when Chris calls. Chris calls up, he says, I need you in Ireland, I'm on a plane, and I'm in Ireland, you know. So it's just when Chris calls that I listen. And when he called me in Florida, and I was invited up to this very prestigious event with you all, it was absolutely an honor and a privilege to be here for Chris, as he is with all of us. And I'd just like to give him one big round of applause. We have many people here today that are all very special to Chris, and this was a hard list for Chris to choose from. But I would like for just a few of you to come up and talk a little bit about how you met Chris, what Chris has done in your life, what he means to you, and just the blessings that we have of having this one human in our life. I'd like to start off with Ray, if we could. Ray,
He's kept it warm for me too. Doug is, I'm Ray, I'm an alcoholic addict and a lot of this. Doug is, how do you lose an airplane? I just love that story. I just love that story. Chris was telling a story just before, for anybody that knows Chris, his stories are unbelievable, and that's what, a lot of what gravitated me toward Chris. Well, I kind of didn't have a choice at first, but what kept me listening to Chris is he keeps it interesting, he keeps it funny, but what a lot of, I don't know how much of you do know, but he's definitely the most knowledgeable guy I personally know, with regard to treatment, alcoholism, recovery, and that, I've met a lot of people. I've been in and out of recovery since 1977. My God, I met Chris in '96. So he's telling a story in the back. One of the stories is when he got pulled over by the cops. He's on his motorcycle and he rips his helmet off. He screams at the guy, "What do you want? What the hell do you want?" Take it easy. And my fiance is there. She's saying, "I don't see the humor in that." That's 100% Russian. And they found out I didn't drink. He goes, not even vodka? It's water, right? It's water. When I was in a meeting and I was relapsing, and they were just tired of hearing it, this one woman comes up to me and says, why don't you go talk to him? He works with guys like you. All right, I go over to him, and Chris invites me to his house. He invites me over to his house. Listen, no one was inviting me to their houses back then, trust me. He told me that, he explained to me alcoholism. I was never really explained to me that I was under God's grace, and he pretty much rushed me through the steps. But what Chris never did, he was never a judgmental guy with me. I mean, I relapsed once after that. Actually, I think he grabbed, I was really high, so I think he grabbed Pat. Pat was there at the meeting. He was like, hey, Pat, come here, quick, take him. I was going to hit somebody. It was in an AA meeting, and the guy didn't even, I thought he was saying something. I was so high, and he wasn't even saying anything. But Chris would, he never, he was just tolerant and patient. I would call him, even to this day, he always calls me back. It's just, he is what a sponsor, he's what I try and be like when I sponsor somebody and when I help somebody. He completely changed my life. I don't know if I'd be alive. I certainly wouldn't be the man I am today if I didn't meet Chris. And it was, I mean, he's anointed. It's just the grace of God was on Chris, and he sat with me patiently, rushed me through the steps, thank God, and told me that it's my job now to go and help other people. And if, I'll tell you what, if I am just so lucky, that God pointed me Chris's way. I mean, what can I say? Love God, God's plan, whatever it is. But I thank God, Chris. I love you so much. I know you're going to go, but I hope you stay. So, selfishly, whatever you do, God bless you, and may you have, you deserve the best. You just deserve a great life for what you've given God. He created the whole area around us. This was a dead zone. It was like trying to talk on Verizon, and there's no cell towers around here. It's a freaking dead zone. Now you walk in, it's like I just love going to meetings that he created. Thank you.
My wife's from Italy, and the first thing I did was I married her, and then I went and asked for permission. So, if you know the Italians, bad move. So we fly out to Rome, where my wife was born and raised, and meet my mom and pop. They don't speak a lick of English, which was a bonus for me at that point in time. And they have everybody in this house, and there's wine everywhere. And they're going around, and they're pouring, and they're pouring, and they're pouring. And I had about 8 years sobriety at that time. I was back on the beam, and I put my hand on the glass, and they poured the wine all over my hand, like, and it didn't stop. And we're looking at each other. I'm going like this, and they're going like this. They're pouring it. It's the best. And the whole table stopped and looked at me. And I'm looking at these people thinking, oh my God, now her father's a brain surgeon, her brother's this big architect, and I'm feeling like about this big. And I said, did you not tell them that I'm a recovered alcoholic? She goes, oh no, Doc Lissa. She called me Doc Lissa. Oh no, Doc Lissa, it's no, none of the business. I'm like, dang. So I take my wife and I walk into the mother, I didn't know where I was going, but I walked into the mother and father's bedroom and closed the door. Now you got 20 guineas like, and they're all like, and I'm feeling less MSN, and I was trying to call Humans in America, and it wasn't working because it was like 4 o'clock in the morning your time. So I remember in the big book that I talked about there's some point in time it's just going to be you and God, and so we started praying and meditating. My wife's very much into that with me. We're in there for 30 minutes. Can you imagine what their family's thinking? I just walked through the door 5 minutes ago, and I'm taking their mother into their daughter into the mother's bedroom. I've been there for 30 minutes. They're thinking, whoa. So I still haven't told them we're married yet. So now I have to. I said, okay. We prayed, we meditated, the obsession went away. Step 2 came back into my life. I said, I know what you gotta do. So we walk out into the kitchen, and I said, ready? Start translating. And she's looking at me, and they're all like, looking at this American. And I said, tell them that I'm an alcoholic. And she tells them. And so I said, tell them that I don't drink alcohol. Well, when she said that, the communication started. And then her brother said in Italian, he said, what happens if you drink? I said, tell them I die. And they have never offered me a drink since that point in time. And they have welcomed me into their life. Well, 5 years later, 5 years. And have a brain surgeon father-in-law, cut you up and you don't even know you're dead. So that's my story. The next story that I'm going to do when I come up here is tell you how I lost an airplane. Has anyone ever lost a 90-ton airplane? I wouldn't think so. But, Chris tells a great story about when he was on a winning streak in his room at his mother's house when he was 35. So we got to make sure that he tells that story because I'm going to be asking him to come up here. But what I would like to do is I'd like to invite Jimmy up here to talk a little bit about that.
I'm Jim. Hey, I'm an alcoholic, Chris, forgot to tell you. I'm gonna have a little problem with non-conference approved substances, but I'll say, drugs, because it's not really AA meat, and I'm not gonna piss anybody off. I met Chris, not that I wanted to. Alright? For those of you who don't know me, I once had hair. And Fu Manchu kind of deal. I used to hang little skulls at it just to make you all happy. If any of you have ever shaken my hand back in my early days of recovery, I'm sorry if my lawnmower-like hands made you bleed. Remember, Chris, I had these rings on. I know Anne Marie remembers. Nobody really wanted to shake my hand because they tell me, don't shake his hand, you'll bleed. And I really did. I just had sharp things. I didn't like you, didn't want to know you. I knew junkies and all them, no offense, but if queers over in NA, they were going to hug you. I'm going to have to punch them. I wanted something short. And I've been to NA. I knew that deal, And so anyway, I get around to recovery. Just a little before I meet Chris, I meet this gal, the big unit. Some of y'all know the big unit. And you remember the big unit, right? And she lives on down in Texas now, because I may have wrecked her at one point. But she's a dear friend of mine, and if it wasn't for her, I don't know where I'd be today, dead or in prison or something. But I followed her around a little bit and got to know her, and found out she carried one of them there, what do you call that thing with directions in it? Blue Big Book, right? So I got one. Figure, come on, everybody in here is going, oh, it's a good-looking girl, it's a good-looking guy, I'll go to whatever meetings they're going to. So I did. Followed around, she had a big book. I actually started reading the big book because she could talk the stuff that was in the big book, right? Anybody here ever do that? Try to be something you're not. Okay? So, I do that deal, and we end up dating. And she finds out that I'm, a psychopath, I guess. I would go to her house and I would take my guns off and put them in my toolbox because I didn't want her to know I was carrying guns. She already knew, but I